From a neurodevelopmental perspective, we start virtually at birth, putting together the pieces to help teach a child how to read. Sadly, reading is generally perceived as something you start in preschool possibly, or kindergarten. And you start teaching a child to identify letters and letter sounds, or you do whole word approaches to reading. But regardless of ultimately what approach you use, building the foundation is really the key to success with reading. If you will, to read, you have to be able to process that visual information sequentially, all right? And be if that visual information is a single word, or if the visual information is processed in the individual letters. And then you have to take those letters and assign auditory meaning to those letters, the sounds, and then sequence the sounds to create words. If you will, it's a relatively complex process. And if we want to be successful, we number one want to start off as soon as possible developing the foundation. The biggest pieces of the foundation are auditory and visual processing, which is sequential processing. And if you will, translates into short-term memory, which is the foundation of working memory, which is complexity of thought. And then if we're smart, when we go to start teaching reading, we look at that individual and we determine what is the best way to teach that individual. Failures in reading really are failures to perceive the pieces required to establish the foundation, and then not individualizing the approach to fit the child. All right, virtually every child should be able to learn how to read. And truth is, it should be a pretty easy process for most children. But sadly, the system typically doesn't pay attention to the pieces, doesn't individualize what they're doing, doesn't acknowledge the individual and how significant it is to teach appropriately to fit that child. And not say, oh yeah, we teach this way, we teach that way. You need to individualize to be successful and establish the proper foundation.